Yes, there it
Yeah.
is. Okay.
Hey, good morning.
Morning, how you doing?
Good. Hey, thanks for hopping on with me.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, well, we have another awesome guest on today, one of the newest stars for the women's Eagle Sevens team, Kristi Kirshe. Kristi, I want to extend a thank you to you for chatting with me because you've got quite an interesting story, and I want to kind of dive into it. So I guess here we go. Um, could you tell me kind of how you found rugby and what your introduction to the sport was?
Yeah, so I actually found rugby pretty late in my life. So I played college soccer all through college. And it wasn't until after I graduated and I was living and working in Boston. I had a full-time job at a law firm. And I missed like competition. I missed playing a sport. And so one of my best friends from high school actually had played club rugby in college, and she was like, "You should come try rugby. Like you'd be pretty good at it. Like I think you'd have fun." And I actually was really resistant for like 6 months. So thankfully, she was pretty persistent in trying to get me to play. So I went to my first practice in I think February of 2018. Um, and then after a few tough practices, because I had no idea what was going on, I caught the rugby bug, and I just kind of went from there. I played a season of 15s. I played a season of summer sevens, and then I got invited out to California. So yeah,
That's
it was
quick.
a little bit of a whirlwind.
Who was the first team that you jumped in with for that first
So,
practice?
yeah, so I started playing with Boston Women's Rugby Football Club. So I played a 15 season with them. I played the summer sevens with them. I also got picked up by Northeast Academy, one of the
Hmm.
national development academies for sevens. So I started playing with them too that spring. Um, and yeah, just went from there.
So you had played quite a few sports growing up before rugby.
Yeah. Yeah. So the big one I think that probably is really important was I played Pop Warner football when I was a little
Oh,
kid. So
what did
that's
you play?
I played running back. Uh,
Okay, that does
yeah.
not surprise me. Just watching the way that you play, you're
Yeah,
really
it's
talented.
translated pretty well, I think. So I always say, like, in transitioning to rugby, sometimes the hardest thing, like from another sport, is like getting used to the contact. But I played full contact football
Yeah,
when I was a kid, so I that wasn't really an issue for me, and it was
yeah.
something I was definitely more so ready for. But yeah, so I played that when I was younger, and then through high school, I played soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. So I've kind of you know, did the whole multi-sport athlete thing. And I think, I got pretty lucky in that I think all of those kind of translate into rugby in a cool way.
I think so. I think that's one of the cool things about rugby is that it's very open to, transferring skills from other sports. And you see
Definitely.
you see
Yeah.
like, more often than maybe other sports, players can pick it up at a later age. And
Yes, I think so.
obviously in your case, you started playing rugby in February of 2018,
Yeah.
and by 2019 you are, you know, one of the leading scorers for the United States, and that's pretty rapid rise. So
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
what was kind of the progression for you from joining with Northeast Academy to getting that first call up to Chula Vista?
So my first tournament with Northeast was the NDIT tournament, like the National Development Invitational Tournament.
Hmm.
I think is what that stands for. So that was actually out in Chula Vista. So my
Okay.
first seventh tournament was actually in Chula Vista, and I made the dream team there. And so I think that was the first time that I got on like the radar of the USA team. And then after summer sevens with Boston, I also got scouted at nationals that year. And so it was after that I got invited to my first Falcons tour. That was September of 2018. And then after that, after the tour, I got invited to camp in November, and then I got invited to move out full time December.
That's cool. Who was the first person that reached out to you about joining the national team setup?
Emily Bidwell is the one who emailed me about going on the Falcons tour. So she was the first one that I heard from. And yeah.
Were you caught off guard or surprised at all, or was that kind of something that you had, sort of planned for?
It was definitely not something I'd planned for. I had kind of thought that like the competitive part of like my sports life was over after graduating from college. I was just, wanting to play a sport as just like something to do and like a way to make friends and stuff. It wasn't until until we went to the academy tournament in Chula Vista that I was like, oh, maybe I could actually do something with this. And so that was like the first time that I ever really thought that there might be something more in it than just, a sport that I play on the weekends.
Right.
But no, I mean, if you had told me when I started this that this is where my journey was going to go, I would have told you were crazy because it's just so amazing and unpredictable. And
yeah. So you were, from what I read, you were actually like a big time soccer player at college, and you scored a ton of goals, and you guys won the national championship.
Yeah.
I want to know, in sevens there's not as much kicking, but when you started off playing 15s, were you taking kicks off the tee?
No, that is a skill I'm actually working on now, in both sevens and 15s.
Yeah, I could imagine that, you'd be able to pick it up though if, you're a prolific goal scorer. I can see you being a prolific points kicker as well.
Yeah, maybe someday. It's something I'm working on, especially in sevens. I haven't quite gotten the drop yet. I feel like that's probably the hardest part. I might have a little bit of an easier time learning off the tee, but I'm working on my drop timing right now. So kicking is definitely a skill that I want to develop. It just, in the first 2 years of me like trying to learn everything about rugby, it was not like something that I prioritized.
Right.
I was like, I should probably learn how to catch pass.
Other priorities.
Maybe learn how to get into the kicking. So I'm working on it now.
That's good. What was your first tournament? First tournament with the senior team?
That would be Sydney in 2019.
What was that feeling like, running out the first time?
It was definitely surreal. Like it was definitely one of those like, pinch me, I can't believe I'm really here moments. Just like, the first time getting the jersey was amazing. It's the first time you get to put something on that says like you're representing like Team USA, and that's like a really special moment, and it's really like it's a huge honor. And then just running out on the field for the first time, it's such an incredible environment, especially playing in Australia where rugby is like a bigger sport than it is in the US. Like you can feel that energy so much more, and it was just it was really surreal, and it was really special. And I feel like I still look back on it and I'm like, I can't believe like any of that happened. So
the even cooler thing is that, since you joined the team, you guys kind of caught fire at the end of last year, y'all locked in a automatic spot in the Olympics. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen this summer, but, we'll wait a year. But I mean, gosh, how cool could that be next year, running out at the Olympics?
I know. I mean, that's the dream. That's the goal. And I mean, for me, especially like, the Olympic dream was something like when I was a little kid, I was like, oh, I absolutely want to be an Olympian. I always thought I was going to, be an Olympic soccer player. That was always the goal. So it's pretty cool to be kind of this close to realizing it in another sport. And just, it truly is just, we're just chasing down a dream that we've all had since we're kids. And it's really cool to be part of this process for USA Rugby and trying to get to the Olympics next year.
As someone that's, you've played obviously multiple different sports, so you've been exposed to like a lot of the different athletes here in the United States. And I would say our women's sports particularly are very, very dominant in, soccer, basketball. Do
Mhm.
you see, down the line that, USA women's rugby could really, tap into the massive athlete base that we have and, you know, become like the dominant power in rugby?
I think we definitely have the potential in the United States. I think we've even shown it over the last year, like for how
Mm-hmm.
young of a program USA Rugby is in comparison to some of these other countries, and just like the pure like athleticism that we have. I think we definitely have an incredible opportunity to grow the sport. And if we get more people who start playing rugby, before they're 24
Mm-hmm.
and picking it up,
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of potential to be a powerhouse in rugby, definitely. I mean, I think even in the last like few years, we've gone from a team that, wasn't even consistently medaling in tournaments to a team that is now as a group, we expect ourselves to medal in all the tournaments we play in. And so I
Right.
think just like that change in expectation just reflects how much we've grown as a program, and just I think we're only going to keep going up from there.
I agree. And I mean, it's cool because the men and the women, both last year, you guys finished second overall in the
Yeah.
entire series, which is just a remarkable achievement. And finished on the podium, I think the last, five tournaments in a row to end last season. So, I mean, it's the growth has been pretty awesome to watch from
Yeah.
fans' perspective. I want to ask you, when you're playing on the series, who is your, I guess, I wanted to say favorite. Who is which games are going to be the most challenging, back and forth games when y'all take on teams on the series?
Well, I think the cool thing about the series is that, at any day, any team could put up like a crazy fight against any other
Yes.
team. So like going into every game, you have to be ready to play your best because anyone can show up at any time. I think for us, usually our biggest games are, our rivals to the north. Our
Yeah.
games against Canada are usually
Yeah.
quite a physical battle, and it's usually really back and forth, and like we're fighting for every inch of what we get. And then also, playing against New Zealand, they're an incredible team, and so they always give us a battle. Um, but yeah, I'd say probably our biggest like rival we end up playing, I think the most, is Canada. We go
Yeah.
back and forth with them a lot. So those two are probably like our biggest, like, okay, we know it's gonna take everything in us to play these games.
I loved that game against, I think it was this past autumn, at the Glendale Sevens against Canada. That one
Yeah.
was just so back and forth, and
Yeah,
y'all,
and absolutely down to the
yeah,
last second there.
yeah, and that
And
New Zealand game in that tournament,
right.
both of them. And
Yeah, so
then
they're always just incredible battles, and those are the games that I think are the most fun to play in because,
definitely
it takes everything in you.
feels better too, when you win at the end. Um, uh, Last year, Biarritz Sevens in France, you guys finally got over the hump and brought home gold medal. What was
Mhm.
that feeling like? Just being the first team to finally do it, get a first place finish.
Oh, it was amazing. I think that tournament felt like a culmination of a lot of things for us. I think we had been getting so close for the past few tournaments, and it was just an amazing moment of like proving that we were one of the best teams on the series, and like just like a moment where we were like, yeah, like we're good, and like this.
Yeah,
Um, and it was just, I mean, I think for me it was really special because it was like one of my first few tournaments. But I think for some of the other people on the team who have been around since before the last Olympics, like it was such an incredible moment to be, finally be topping that podium, because it's just like the years of work that have gone into getting us to a point where we can be in that situation when we're playing in the gold medal match. um it was amazing. People were crying. It was just tears of joy. It was just like a completely overwhelming amount of emotion, and just so much pride in like what we had done as a squad and what we'd been working for all year.
that had to be awesome. And so that was, I think that was the last tournament on the series for that year. So were you guys able to kind of celebrate that one a little more maybe than other tournaments? Because there was nothing after?
Yeah, well, so because it was the last stop on the series, there was an event with all the teams. So we got to we had almost like a little bit of a banquet with all the women's teams on the series, which was really nice. So we all got to, and it was which is a really special thing about rugby. You don't necessarily find that in all the sports, that after beating each other up for a weekend, you guys all go out and have a banquet together, and you get to interact with the other players. So that was definitely a really special night.
I think, that's awesome. Well, we only have a few minutes left, so I want to ask just a couple more questions to you before we go. 3 questions. All right. Number 1, who so far has been the toughest player for you to go up against on the series?
Ooh, like one-on-one matchup type?
Or just which player, opposing player is, you guys are like, all right, we really got to keep this player in check as a team?
Well, I think when we play New Zealand, they have a lot of threats out wide, and as a wing, that's something that I'm always really aware of. They have Michaela Blyde out there. They also have Stacey Waka out there, and they're both incredible try scorers and incredibly fast. So for me, they're definitely somebody who I always have my eye on when I'm playing against, because I'm like, okay, got to be ready for this battle. Also, I line up against Elliot Green a lot too.
From Australia?
And I think, yes, from Australia. Yeah. So she's also one who I'm always like, okay, it's going to be a battle against her.
You're very competitive, so I bet you relish those challenges.
I do. It's something I definitely prepare probably a little bit more mentally for, just knowing going into it. But I like to think that they have to prepare just as much to play against me. So.
Oh yeah. So
it's always a fun battle.
All right. My next question is, what sort of words of advice or encouragement words of wisdom would you have for younger players coming up through into the next generation? And
okay, well, I have a few. For the first one would be just learn to love contact. I think it's something that separates a lot of players, is the people that aren't afraid to take contact or initiate contact. So learn to love contact. I think that's a really important part of rising up, and also just be really willing to learn from anyone. I've had incredible coaches, but I've also had incredible teammates, and I think you learn just as much from the people around you as you do from your coaches. So just always be willing to learn from anyone around you.
I like that a lot. Learn to love contact is so true. It's one of the fundamental parts of the game.
It is, and sometimes you can really tell when somebody kind of shies away from it, and I think it's something that's really important, that it's if you really want to play rugby, just learn to love the contact. Yep.
And then, of course, I've heard that from a lot of different people that I've chatted with that are high performance players, is just open mind. Don't close your mind off to learning, which is probably a key characteristic to how you guys got there in the first place. Okay, my last question to you is, in your words, what is rugby?
Oh, man. I think rugby is the ultimate team sport. It's fast-paced, it's dynamic, it's hard-hitting, and it's just, the ultimate team battle.
Definitely. I love that. Yeah. Well, Kristi, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you get to showcase your talents at the Tokyo Games next summer, and hopefully we bring home a medal.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Thanks for everything you do for USA Rugby and inspiration to athletes all over the country.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
You as well.